Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Hey. Okay, so I'm going to start the prelude this morning, and it's Beethoven, so I thought I would say, let's just be quiet now. We're having a service about quiet. Here comes Beethoven.
Thank you, Brenda, for that beautiful performance. Good morning. My name is Natalie Emmons, and I'm a member of our board and also the newly minted treasurer. I welcome you to this gathering of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Fayetteville. Unitarian Universalism is a liberal religious tradition that values freedom in religious thought and journey. We uphold the unity of our interconnections, connections to each other, to all of life, and to the precious universe of which we are a part. We affirm the universality of love and hope as we journey together in community, and we welcome you, whoever you are at this moment, and wherever you are in your spiritual journey. For those of us joining us for the first time on Facebook, please check out our website, uufayetteville.org, for more information and to sign up to receive the weekly email. You can always unsubscribe if you wish. For those of us joining us here in person today for the first time, you'll find in the seat back in front of you a visitor information card that we'd love for you to fill out so we can get to know you and get you on our email list and to keep you informed about UUFF happenings. If you already gave your name and contact information, you do not need to do that again. And there are also yellow joys and concerns cards in your seat backs. If you have a joy or concern you'd like to share, we invite you to fill out a card. There's a place to indicate if you want your joy or concern shared or if you would like it to be kept confidential, shared only with leadership. In a few minutes, you'll have an opportunity to bring the card up here and drop a stone if you want. You may drop a stone even if you don't fill out a card. If you're watching on Facebook, you may write your joys and concerns in the comments there at that time. And please note that those comments will be public. We do have a staff nursery available downstairs. Alex Emmons, who is my lovely sister, is the nursery coordinator. She does a wonderful job with the children down there. And today we have a very special treat this morning. Our fellow UUFF board member and University of Arkansas comrade, Steve Krogull, will be speaking for us. And Joe will now lead us in lighting the chalice.
Wonderful, Natalie. Thank you, and good morning, all. Would you please join me in reciting these words as we light our chalice this morning? Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and truth, and to help one another. Thus do we covenant together.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to start with a round. This is one that probably many of us know, gathered here. And so I'm going to lead this section, and then Carol will lead that section. So we're going to do it 3 times through. Everybody stand up. So if you're on this side, you're going to follow me. If you're on that side, you're going to follow Carol. We're going to do it 3 times. Don't worry if you don't get it right at first. It's pretty easy. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the Beautiful. Thank you. Please be seated. Good morning. I'm happy about this story. So it's the story for all ages. This story is I Am Quiet, a story for the introvert in all of us, by Andy Powers and illustrated by Betsy Peterson. My name is Emil. I am quiet. Grown-ups tell me, don't be shy. But I'm not shy. I am quiet. I am quiet on the outside, but not on the inside. On the inside, my imagination shouts loudly and runs wild. On the inside, I am Sir Emil, the valiant knight, who roars louder than dragons. My armor clangs and clashes as I run with the mighty beasts. I high-five the fiercest one and race to the finish line. On the inside, I am the daring captain of a great ship. I shout to my crew to pull up the anchor, and onward we go. The waves thunder, spraying salty sea in my face. I salute the biggest whale, and she joins my team. But that is on the inside. On the outside, I paint the universe on paper, and there is me, floating through the stars, a tiny astronaut on a great expedition that no one even knows about. I paint a friend, and we float together. Some days I walk from home to school through sun or rain or snow, and I listen to the sounds around me. I hear quiet scuttling beneath the earth. I see quiet nesting in the trees. I feel quiet burrowing beneath the soil, an oak tree growing deep in the ground until it breaks free into the light, big and strong. Strength can be quiet. At school, May and Thomas are full of answers and ready to burst. I know the answers too, but I keep them like a secret. I whisper them to myself softly. Answers can be quiet. At recess, there are jungle gyms and monkey bars and the whirly-swirly merry-go-rounds for the brave and the dizzy. I investigate cracks in the concrete. I look closely to see who I might find. Sometimes I explore with a friend. Friendship can be quiet. On the way home from school, I pass our neighbors, Mr. Tim and Bowser. Bowser is not quiet. Bowser is loud. Somehow, without saying much at all, Mr. Tim says, "Emil, don't be shy." But I'm not shy. I'm quiet. I show him so by barking back. Woof, woof. Miss Wero, with her noisy parakeet, asks, "Cat got your tongue?" I stick out my tongue, and the parakeet does too. "Still there." Mr. March in his rose garden tells me, "Someday you will come out of your shell." My mother says that if you hold a shell close to your ear and are very quiet,
you can hear the entire ocean sing. At home, in bed, there are snuggles and kisses and hugs. Then night-night, my flashlight, books, and I have other plans. After miles of exploration, I click off the flashlight and snuggle in tight. I listen to the quiet sounds outside my window, close my eyes, and say, good night. The end.
As a diverse people, we share our various joys and concerns. Sometimes we're happy, and sometimes we're devastated. Sometimes we rejoice, and sometimes we mourn. In all those times, we support and care for each other. So we invite you to share your ups and downs as you desire. You can come to the front and drop a stone for any joy or concern, shared or confidential, expressed or held in your heart. As you drop your stone, may you experience the spreading of love and support. If you filled out a card, you can bring it to me. On the card, please indicate whether your comment is confidential or to be shared. If you need to stay where you are, feel free to raise the card so someone can get it and bring it up here. If you're attending virtually, you may write your joys and concerns in the comments, and those comments will be public and shared. So we drop a stone for joys and concerns not spoken, and we drop another for joys and concerns we will experience in the coming week. Let's have a moment of silence as we hold all these joys and concerns in our hearts. Okay. So now it's time for the offering. The important work of this fellowship is possible because of generous contributions of time, energy, and money. Every contribution of every size is helpful and appreciated. As we pass the offering baskets, we invite you to share financially. And if you prefer, you may give online at uufayetteville.org or mail checks to our office. I wanted to mention that I was reminded that this week's offerings will go to Share the Plate, which is community outreach and emergency funds that may be needed for a specific cause. So if you do want to contribute to the Share the Plate offering, there's still time.
Good morning, all. So I really appreciate the opportunity to have a little discussion today about quiet and introversion. So it's based on this book by Susan Cain called Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking. And this came up as a presentation that we did in Mindful Discussions where we heard a little bit from Susan Cain and then spent some time talking about what it means to be an introvert. And I have to thank Brenda for just wonderful music. As two introverts talking about how we might have some music that captures our essence of our message. It was wonderfully fun to work with her on that. So, and thanks to the Child's Committee for bringing together everything. Also, I have to admit that I'm thinking about my presentation here today a little bit, And after Joanna read I Am Quiet, I was like, yeah, okay, done. So just, yeah, check. So in fact, Dinah was sort of nudging me throughout, going, yeah, it's just me, So for those of you who that resonated with, this will be a presentation all for you. So today's message, as I said, follows the ARE discussion, and the past several weeks, I think we've been developing some themes, both in the mindful discussions framework, but also in the service, about exploring different elements of diversity in community. And introversion and extroversion are personality traits that represent another facet of diversity. So as Reverend Stephen noted in the sermon last week, that traits that are considered different from societal norms are frequently misunderstood. And actually the book, I Am Quiet, actually talked about some of those things as our main character there was interfacing with different people in the community. So what ends up happening, I think, is that Western societies value extroversion and promote extroversion, which can be a problem for introverts. So in Quiet, Susan Cain writes, "Our lives are shaped as profoundly by personality as by gender or race. And the single most important aspect of personality, the north and south of temperament, as one scientist has put it, is where we fall on the introversion-extroversion spectrum." Now, stepping away from Susan's quote for a second, the notion of introversion being on a continuum is really important because it's frequently characterized in the literature as being one or the other. You're an introvert or an extrovert, but the reality is that it's a continuum from introvert to ambivert to extrovert, where ambivert is sort of that happy medium where you're sort of not 100% either way. So the reality is that some people may tend towards one of the extremes. I would be one. But there's others who tend to be in the middle and sort of find that happy medium. And there are also people that are on the extremes who've learned how to function as an introvert in a more extroverted world and vice versa. So it's very difficult to frame things as being all one or all the other. For convenience sake, I think a lot of the literature and a lot of what we do really is framed around those extremes. And we'll talk about characteristics of those extremes here for a little bit today. But I want to be able to just sort of frame that as really a continuum and to think about that as you reflect on where you are. So Cain continues, "Our place on this continuum influences our choice of friends and mates, how we make conversation, resolve differences, and show love. It affects the careers we choose and whether or not we succeed at them. It governs how likely we are to exercise, commit adultery, function well without sleep, learn from our mistakes, place big bets in the stock market, delay gratification, be a good leader, and ask, what if? It's reflected in our brain pathways, neurotransmitters, and remote corners of our nervous systems. Today, introversion and extroversion are two of the most exhaustively researched subjects in personality psychology, arousing the curiosity of hundreds of scientists." Cain continues that, "Yet today we make room for a remarkably narrow range of personality styles. We're told that to be great is to be bold, to be happy is to be sociable. We see ourselves as a nation of extroverts, which means that we've lost sight of who we really are. Depending on which study you consult, 1/3 to 1/2 of Americans are introverts. In other words, 1 out of every 2 or 3 people that you know fall on the introverted side of that continuum. If you're not an introvert yourself, you surely are raising, managing, married to, or coupled with one." So reflecting on my life and putting it in context and why this resonates with me, I was the kid who would go to the library and check out 10 books every week, and then happily spend the rest of the week sitting next to my dog, reading, sequentially through all of those. My mother, of course, would push me to be outside, to enjoy the day, play with the neighborhood kids, and all of that. And I take my books outside is really what happened. So I've also had feedback through school report cards, employee performance reviews, and a variety of other mechanisms that I was shy, I was awkward, I was introverted, used as a pejorative term, and labeled as unassertive, I lacked confidence, and more. I've attended leadership and management development programs designed to increase my executive presence and develop sales engagement skills and promote becoming more directive and more assertive. All of this message that there was something wrong with me, something that needed to be fixed. Somehow, this was holding me back from reaching my full potential. Something was making me a less than member of society and my desired social groups. I discovered that I was an introvert through taking a Myers-Briggs assessment as part of one of these leadership development opportunities. Out of those 16 personality types, I'm an ISTJ, so introverted is my dominant, sensing, thinking, and judging. So my introversion score being quite high, I started researching, like, what does it mean to be an ISTJ, and how does that play out? So people with an ISTJ personality tend to be reserved, practical, and quiet. They enjoy order and organization in all areas of their lives, and are known for being nice, loyal, and responsible. For people who know me, I think that pretty well gets it. So Adam McHugh, an author of Introverts in the Church, noted that we all have two dead European psychologists duking it out in our heads. In the early 20th century, Sigmund Freud and his disciple turned rival, Carl Jung, clashed over the nature of introversion. So for Freud, it was indicated an unhealthy self-preoccupation. It was a pathological step towards narcissism, a disorder that involves obsession with the self to the exclusion of others, a habitual turning away from the outside world. Pretty dire. Carl Jung, by contrast, considered introversion a healthy and normal trait. As part of his collective unconscious theory, which concerns the general psychological patterns shared by humankind, introversion, which was a term he coined, was an introspective orientation wherein a person finds primary energy within the self. I'm going to accept Carl Jung's approach, just so you know. So what the ISTJ label did for me, though, is, other than just kind of being a label, is it provided a notion that it might be okay to be an introvert. The ISTJ personality type is one of the most common. It accounts for about 11 to 14% of the population. So it's not just me. That's pretty cool. So further information that I was going to be okay from reading Susan Cain's book. And I found that just incredibly transformative. It framed so many elements of my life into an understandable model. I had a scaffolding that I could put all of that feedback into that actually made sense. In fact, I shared it with my younger daughter, who's also an introvert, who commented that it was like Susan Cain was speaking directly to her through this writing. So very much a powerful moment for her. So exactly, Natalie. So being an introvert is not about being shy. It's not about being antisocial. Those are common misconceptions. It is about being purposeful in managing how and when you engage your activities throughout your day. So a helpful model that I've developed is if you think about a gas tank representing all the energy you have in a day. And as you're going through your day, you're drawing down on that. Sometimes a little, sometimes a lot. And sometimes you get asked to tap more than what you've got, right? So as you're working through that. And what's interesting then is extroverts have the ability to recharge, refill their gas tank through social interaction and engagement. While introverts tend to need to be quiet, they need to be reflective, they need to disengage to recharge or refill their gas tanks. And the kind of role that I serve in my day-to-day life, there is a lot of draw. And so I frequently, by the end of the day, will describe my life as just my gas tank being empty. So that's a helpful analogy when you think about just how you manage energy and manage yourself, and how introverts need that time to step away. So it's not that they're stepping away because something's wrong, but they're just refilling their gas tank. So I especially love to recharge through reading, obviously, and then also through music. And this is the part of the partnership with Brenda that was just so powerful. I've got Spotify playlists that have a couple of thousand songs in them, everything from Beethoven to AC/DC. So depending upon how I need to recharge, so some of them are power chargers and some of them take a little longer, right? In an introvert's take on music, Mike Reiner shares, what kind of music you listen to has become one of the most commonly used icebreakers. It's also a question that most introverts absolutely dread. For introverts, music is a way to relax and turn inward. We love the way music transports us to another place, especially when the real world is overwhelming or boring. Introverts often listen to music at home or on the subway or during a lunch break when we need some recharge time. We love music because it pleases our senses without overwhelming us. It also helps us with self-contemplation. Introverts don't listen to music because we're trying to impress anyone, but rather it finds a sound that inspires and rejuvenates us. So for me, I would very much resonate with that. For me, listening to music is very much a personal experience. So I'm fascinated by the contrast then of my sense of being an introvert with what Susan Cain is describing as the extrovert ideal. So that's the omnipresent belief that the ideal is self, is gregarious, alpha, and comfortable in the spotlight. Extroverts tend to prefer action to contemplation, risk-taking to heed-taking, certainty to doubt. He favors quick decisions, even at the risk of being wrong. She works well in teams and socializes in groups. Introverts, however, feel just right with less stimulation. Extroverts, though, enjoy the big bang that comes from activities like meeting new people, skiing slippery slopes, and cranking up the stereo. Extroverts are comfortable with multitasking and risk-taking. They are the people who add life to your dinner party and laugh generously at your jokes. I could probably have more introverts in my circle there. They're comfortable with conflict, but interestingly, not with solitude. So, of course, solitude can be challenging for extroverts. So coming off of COVID, I know there were numerous internet memes about telling introverts to check on their extrovert's friend, because in the time of being isolated, they really, really needed their introvert friends to reach out, right? So it's interesting that even those frameworks have become pervasive in our social constructs through social media. So stepping back, how then should we think about the notion of introversion and extroversion within our community here? How can we embrace the range of these personality traits to help all feel welcome inside our fellowship? Again, from introverts in the church, we might ask, does this service encourage a lot of standing, clapping, and applauding? Are there spaces for silence, to be quiet and still? It doesn't require extroverted energy. Is the space too overstimulating? Have you paid attention to the fact that some people are neurologically diverse, which could include having maybe a fragrance-free zone, or being aware of the role of bright lights or loud sounds in the service? Do we give the introverts among us permission not to stand, not to clap, not to sing, but to simply be with the service in whatever way they are comfortable? Do we have space for the extroverts to feel welcomed and supported, that they can laugh and clap and shout out loud if they wish without being shushed? I have a few suggestions as we think about that. One of them is to urge you to watch the Susan Cain's YouTube on this one. So in 2012, this book was released. She came out with a YouTube session about 15 minutes long that talks about this, but also talks about how she came to write this book and some of the framing of her own life as an introvert. Very, very, very powerful video, so I'd encourage you to spend some time with that. The book itself actually provides a number of background elements and things when you think about introversion in schools and other social settings. So there's a lot of things that she recommends through the text. Also, I think, be reflective and think about your own introverted and extroverted qualities. Take time to fill your tank through whatever mechanism that is, social engagements or Beethoven. And be thoughtful about ways to support and respect the diverse personalities, including introversion, in our UUFF community. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a Spotify playlist to take care of. Thank you.
Joking makes me think about an assembly. I work in an elementary school. This past week, we had an assembly. It was very loud, lots of clapping, elementary kids hyped up. And our school resource officer walked this little guy into my office, and he was just, whoa. He couldn't even speak. And he said, I think he just needs a break. And this kid crawled up into fetal position and put my blanket around him and I thought, oh, that's not for everybody. And I turned my lights down and I said, loud noises stress me out too. It's okay. You can just rest and be quiet. So if you feel comfortable, we're going to sing about this. If you feel comfortable, stand up and join. We're going to sing it through 3 times. If you know it, join in the first time. If not, you can just join in the second time, 3 times through. Stand if you're willing and able. From you I receive, and to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, and to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From Thank you. Please be seated.
What a wonderful service. Thank you, Steve. Very good. I was reminded, too, of differences in terms of Myers-Briggs, and when you named your label, I was thinking of my own, and I know now why we work well together, so complimentary. Please join with me as we extinguish the chalice for today. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
We got a little rally cry. Introverts unite over here. So some closing words. Again, thank you, Brenda, for wonderful music and inviting me for doing this presentation, and to the Chalice Committee, who's really been wonderfully supportive of this process today. So just some thoughts about thinking about the Quiet Book and being an introvert. The first Unitarian Universalist principle is of the inherent worth and dignity of every person is really core to the discussion today, and the themes we've been exploring over the past several weeks. We value the importance of creating a diverse and inclusive community that celebrates the unique qualities of all of our members, including introverts and extroverts. A reminder to tend to yourself and recharge in ways that are helpful and meaningful to you. Thank you.